Hello, hello. I'm just gonna start while we wait for the others to join. So, welcome back to the fourth episode of the Espresso Workshop. This episode is gonna be a special one because we're gonna celebrate Christmas a little bit early. And the title for today's workshop is called Mulled Wine Motions Holiday Graphics. So, we will be looking at specifically graphic design and also motion graphics and see how AI can help us to generate this content in a relatively shorter time and also faster and also cheaper. So to explain a little bit more on the series, the Espresso Workshop is meant to be fast and focused sessions, and each sessions we aim to tackle one creative bottleneck or a creative limitation. So we will be discussing on how we think and also how we execute in the AI era. And we hope to build fluency across concepts, visuals, and system for you guys. So by the end of each section, you will be able to think sharper, make faster, but also create with intention. So going back to this concept where there's a emerge, so there's a rate there, like this type of creative is this type of hybrid creative people are starting to appear, where at back then we had very we had two very distinctive roles, one being the strategist, the other one being the executors. But with the help of AI, now the two roles are colliding or becoming one, which is called the new hybrid creative. They are the people who can think but also who can make. So they are taking over the mind exercise, but also the actual execution. So, and we're looking back at this triangle again. Back in the days where AI isn't a thing, creatives struggled to balance between these three elements, which are the high outputs, low costs, and high quality. Usually they can balance two elements. Let's say they can create a high volume of output at a relatively low cost, but then the quality is compromised, or the other way around, where they can produce a lot of outputs at a high quality, but then the cost is relatively high. But with AI coming into the play, right now, everyone with the right intention, with the right tools, they can also create a lot of outputs at a relatively low cost, but then the quality can also be very high. So looking at this bottleneck, we're looking at motion graphics. So back then, the creative bottleneck would be people think very statically, while a lot of images right now are moving or they are animated. And even if you can animate your motions, some motions could be a little bit off because they do not have a thinking behind it or they do not have a clear design intent. And text sometimes got buried or text just do not align with your brand or text just feels off because of when you create motions, you are not controlling every frames. You are controlling part of the some frames, and then you just prompt and hope the video comes out as you wished. And the last problem would be there's no consistency between frames or there's no consistency between motions. And we are going to address these issues today. So from today, you should be able to make a still image to flow. You can change the static composition into a design motion, and you can turn frames into a cohesive moving world. So these are the four things that you can take away after this section. So the first one would be you will be able to design, or you have the skill set to design motions with intention. And the second thing is that you can start with one image and then take that one image and scale it into a motion system. The third thing is that you will be able to maintain consistency under motion or under the movement. And then you will be also able to maintain the typography that holds under motion. So these are some bad examples. So they do the job like you can tell it's a Christmas motion graphics or it is a Christmas greeting that is animated. But you see like like the image on the left, you see the Y is missing. And then on the left, the Like you don't really know where to look, even though all the text or all the letters are there. So this is a common mistake of motion graphics because the typography loses structure and motion, and you can't like these font style is a little bit wonky, not really the font that I'm looking for. And you see the Christmas tree just opens up and you don't really know why. And then almost this is like a trap where because AI can do the animation for you, and then some people just animate it without thinking why or thinking what is the intention behind it. So that's why we see a lot of these cheap graphics that really telling the story, but they are just, I'll say, interesting to look at, but not necessarily well thought of. So before we jump into the execution of motion graphics, let's go back to the last section and revise a little bit. So from the last section, we look at AI videos and how we can prompt systematically and how we can control frames and how we can expand the image access with asset with one singular image. So this is the example from last 2 weeks ago, and this is the prompt that we use. So looking at the prompts, so there are three layers, and then the first layer is always about you want to direct the camera. In this case, the camera is static and then the peoples are moving. In the second layer, we're describing what is actually being recorded or what is generated in the video. And in this case, these three people are engaging with their crafts. The kid is drawing on the floor with his crayon, and then the man is polishing the lamp, and then the other man is painting the wall at the back. And then the third layer will, oops. And then the third layer we are looking at, or we are describing how the atmosphere is like. We're describing the lighting, describing the pacing, and describing the temperature, describing the atmosphere. So we are going to really look at the motion graphics right now. So I will be breaking down how I created the Christmas greeting from the start, step by step, and hope you can understand the workflow and take the workflow into, or you claim the workflow to your own. So it always starts with a base image generation. In this case, I have an idea in my mind because we are still a architectural consulting agency. So I want to create something that is more architectural, something that is structural. So here, this is the prompt that I use. I'm going to break down the prompt with you guys. Very similarly, this is a structure that, this is a prompt structure that we discuss in the first Espresso series, where we discuss how we generate images with a systematic prompt. So the first layer would be the identity, where we describe what is happening or what is being generated within the frame. So here I said a minimalistic, monochromatic architectural model of a Christmas tree constructed entirely from sleek industrial steel beams and cables. And then the tree should be geometric, architectural design with tiered triangular platforms, decreasing size from the bottom to the top, resembling the classic Christmas tree shape, with thin tension cables connecting the beams, adding structural detail and sense of lightness. So here I'm describing very literal. So the description here is very literal. So I'm describing what is physical there. And then the other layer is where I describe the brand personality or the mood or the atmosphere. So here I'm describing where is the Christmas tree state situated, or where does the light come from? Where's the background? So I'm describing the structure is set against a clean white background. The reason I wanted to place it at a white background is that I know I'm gonna put some fonts or put some text onto the image. So I want to keep the background clean as much as possible so I have more room to play around with. So white background with soft diffuse lighting that emphasizes the metallic structure and precise engineering of the framework. The style is modern, technical, and elegant, focusing on the form and the structure without any additional decoration and colors. The reason I put without decoration and colors is that because in the prompt I mentioned Christmas tree in the first layer, and there is a potential where they pick up Christmas tree with a lot of Christmas decoration and ornaments. So here I also specify that I want to make it clean, no Christmas ornament. or no colors. And then the last layer is a layer that people often forget, which is the reality overlay. In this layer, we are describing the materiality and describing subtle imperfection that we see in our daily life, but then it is sometimes overseen by the AI model where they create very perfect images. Like everything is aligned, everything is the right color, the right shape. But then in reality, things do have a subtle imperfection. So in this layer, we're describing some flaws that make your image looks a little bit more real or more realistic or more convincing. So here we're describing the surface reflect like the perfect way, soft glow, and then we also emphasize the subtle discoloration so that the steel do not look flat, so it looks aged. So I'm happy with the image on the right. So I took that image and start building my inventory of images. And the first image I wanted, like this, not the first image, like the second image I want to create based on the first image that I got is I want to illuminate the Christmas tree with iridescent lights. So I want to borrow the colors from the logo from AAL. So it has this bluish, purplish, but then there's also a hint of orange and red. So I feed the first image as a image reference and then do this prompt where I describe the image output, very similar to the previous prompt, but then the lighting is a little bit different where I said in the second layer, the metallic surface subtly reflects soft iridescent hues of blues, purple, greens, and warm amber tones. So there's a delicate interplay of light and color on the metal. So I enhance the structure, modern and sleek appearances. So to generate this image, there's two input, which is the image reference and also the test prompts. In this case, I do not think it's necessary to also put the logo as the image reference because I think the test prompt will suffice with very detailed description. And so this is the problem. In AAL, there's a very specific type of font style that we use. There's another type font that I use for marketing these espresso workshops. I don't think right now AI is competent to create graphics or layout with a specific prompt and specific layout very efficiently. So the way to do it would be taking the generated image, go back to your Adobe Suite. It could be InDesign or Photoshop. You just lay out everything with the right text style, font style, font size, and then spacing. Everything is done manually in this stage. So I'm aware of that there are AI models that can also there are also AI models that allow you to edit text, also play with the images. So this is Love Arts. It is a platform that where you generate an image and then you can basically deconstruct the image and edit the image by parts. So the image on the left is I generated the image on the left and then I deconstructed the image and I can manipulate different elements, including the image and also the text. So you can see on the right where I change the font style and also the orientation. But this tool, I think it is good for amateurs or it is good for graphics that do not need to look super, super nice. It could be graphics that you send to communicate, or it can be graphics that are not necessarily serving a aesthetic purpose. It would be useful to create graphics that communicate, but not necessarily like it can't create very refined graphics with like you see there's no alignment or there's no more sophisticated manipulation between the elements or the text. So for greater control, menu outputs, menu layout, and font selection are still preferred. So look at looking at we're finally looking at motion graphics. So very similar philosophy to AI video generation. Right now I have three images. One, there's a monochromatic structure, a iridescent structure, and then the one with fonts. So here I want to create a Christmas tree that rotates, and as it rotates, the fonts appear from the white background. So I feed the AI model to input a free input basically. So which is the start frame, the end frame, and the test prompts. Bear with me as I go through these prompts. And the first layer is camera movement, similar, basically the same to AI video generation. So the camera is static, and then the tree spins. And in the second layer, we describe the Christmas tree in a more detailed manner. So it's geometric and then subtle iridescent reflection, and then text appear around the structure. And then I goes to describe what type of text is being generated. And then the last layer is always about the personality, where it describes the lighting, the color, and the focus. So it looks futuristic, festive, but also architectural, and it should be polished and visually captivating. So these are the adjectives that would enhance the video outputs. With this image, we generated that image. And then to expand, in this stage, I expanded the image inventory for later video generation. So after a little bit of work, I was able to create a visual inventory that can help build the motion graphics, or it can help me to build the videos. So you see images from different perspective, different composition. Some of them are close up, some of them are zoom out from the bottom, from the side, with iridescent lighting, one without, different type of iridescent lighting. So the idea is that you create an inventory and then you think about, okay, how do I put these images together in order to create a narrative? Or how do I put these images together to almost think about how the camera would move around these images? So the second image, the second video I created is I created a image that colorize the image where the iridescent lighting hits the structure and then it slowly becomes this iridescent object. So the starting frame is something that is monochromatic from the bottom, like looking the structure from the bottom, and then end it with a almost like elevational view of a iridescent object. Because I do not want the camera to stay static again, so I want it to move as the light hits. So in the prompt, I suggested that the camera pans up and then you see the structure is being illuminated, describing the geometric form and the shape and the edge of the structure, and then at last describe the background. This is the third video that I created. So it started with the graphic design, like the iridescent structure with the text in the back, and then the end image would be a close-up image of the structure to show the details or show how the cables are connected to different beams and also how the platform or how the beams are jointed to the main branch. So I also wanted to spin because it would be a continuous motion. So here I describe the camera zooms in and then the Christmas tree rotates and then started to describe a little bit more on the structure, very similar keywords like geometric shape, and then minimalistic, soft background. This is the last video that I created. And here I just make it simple. The camera almost static, and then I just want the text to appear because there were too much motion already. This should be the last part, a last segment of the greeting or the Christmas card. So I wanted to keep it simple. So this is a summary of all the videos that I created. So there were 4 videos. The first one being, I don't have to go into each of them. So there are 4 videos, and you can see the end frame matches the start frame of the next video. So conceptually, you can stitch all the videos together into one singular continuous motion. So this is the output. So this is where the first video ends. The second ends here. It zooms in. This is the third video, and then this is the last part. So you can see by like expanding your image inventory and creating videos that can be stitched together by playing with the start frame and end frame, you'll be able to create a seamless video that ex almost spans across 20 seconds. Because most AI videos generation or most AI video tools right now create videos at 5 seconds or 10 seconds. In this case, I think 10 seconds is too long for individual clips, so I generated five. And then if I have four videos, it would be 20 seconds. So I speed everything up. And that's the idea where you can first you have to expand the images that you have and then think about how the camera would maneuver around these videos. And you think about how the motions is going to be generated with the pool of images that you have. So a wrap up, motion without intention is just pretty chaos, which is the same takeaway from the last session. Oops. I think the major problem with designing with text or motion graphic is that text is not something that AI video at least can control right now at the moment. So it will still take a little bit of manual input where you as a designer lay out everything or you think about the the size, the font size and how what is the hierarchy of the fonts or how what should be read first and then what is secondary and what is at the background. And that part will still take human input. The most important thing about creating motion graphics, which is different than videos, would be how you can balance the text and also the motions because you don't want to have very intense motion. Like you don't want to create a track shot. Or you don't want to zoom in and zoom out and then everything happening all at once. Something that is more subtle, something that is more quiet to complement with the text. Oops. So that is the end of the session for motion graphics. And this is a little bit teaser for the next session. For the next session, we're looking at something beyond content creation. Well, it is still type of a content creation, but we're looking at something that is more technical and more useful for your daily day-to-day works environment. So we're looking at how can we create presentation deck within minutes that is pretty but also informative that you can communicate with your boss or you can communicate with your client with AI. And the bottleneck of that session would be it takes time to polish and refine your presentation deck. It takes thinking or takes time to think about how you're gonna structure the presentation deck with a, let's say you have a primitive or you have a initial concept or you have a initial ideas, but then you have to build a deck to convey the idea to someone else. It would take effort and time to think about how you structure the presentation and also finding information and also finding images to make your presentation deck convincing. And the next session, we're going to teach you or we're going to discuss how AI can assist us into creating a presentation deck that is convincing and also informative and also communicative. And that is the end of today's session. And welcome any question on motion graphics or any questions in general. Thank you. While we wait for the question, maybe I can explain a little bit more this summary. So the manual output happens at this frame and that frame. So basically these two frames are the same and then this frame as well. But everything takes off with this image. So it would be like a singular image and then expand the entire catalog. I created more images, more like there are more images created more than images that's being shown here. But these are the images that I found that has potential. There would be very interesting camera movement around them. So if you think about that, so maybe go back to so this is where I create some more images based on the first image. And this is being covered in the third, the second episode of Espresso. And here, like we were able to keep the consistency, or we can, like people can still recognize these images belong to the same visual identity or the same object, while the structure keeps intact or they just come from the same place. Taking those images and playing with the AI video tools, you'll be able to create a seamless video. And that is the idea that Espresso Workshop tries to convey is that each section is going to be like a small part of the workflow. And then you, after absorbing these tricks and absorbing these tips, you'll be able to construct or you will be able to build your own workflows. So you will be able to learn, like from the first section, we learn how to generate image, which is essential to the entire content creation. And then in the second episode, we learn how we can create more images based on one single image with consistency and with the relation to the universe or the visual universe that you created. And the third episode series, we learn how to create AI videos. We basically learn how to prompt and we learn how to use end frame, start frame to control your videos. And here this episode, I think this is a almost like a perfect distillation of previous workshops where we use all the knowledge or we use all the tricks in one video or one big video. Like everything that were being discussed was demonstrated here. So image generation and turn the image into another image. We added the image. And then having these edited image, we think about how we put them into the start frame. We think about where to put it in the end frame. And then at the end, you created a very long video that is continuous and it is very consistent. Thank you, Ray, for the question. All the videos that I created for this session is using Clay 2.5. I did not use 2.6 because 2.6 at the moment only supports start frame. So the best AI video tool for Clay right now, not the best, I shouldn't say that. So the latest video models from Clay is 2.6 and O1. O1 is the image editing tool, so it is not as relevant to us today. 2.6 only supports start frame, so it is not suitable for us today. So I went for 2.5. So it does these motion very smoothly, and it is also I would say, a cheaper video tool comparing to Google or like I think in this case, Kling is the best candidate because of its cost efficiency and also its capacity to create these motions. So I didn't have to go for, let's say, Theo, or I don't have to go for Sora because they are too expensive, almost like triple or quadruple of the cost of Clean. So yeah, Clean 2.5. I'll say other tools would also work. Like, of course, I think Theo will work. Sora, potentially. Because in this case, I took care of the text, which is the most difficult thing to generate in AI video. So I'll say most of the AI tools can handle or they could generate these type of motions. So the selection narrows down to the cost and also the time to create these images, to create these videos. Yeah, a little bit more explanation on how I create or what specific tools I create, what specific tools I use to create these images. So the platform I'm using is FreePic. So FreePic is like a host of all the AI models. It has image tools, video tools, everything. For the images I created, I mostly use Nano Banana Pro, sometimes Seedream 4K. I think these two gives the best results. And for Seedream 4K, it is specifically good for architectural, something that is more architectural, something that has a little bit more structure, rhythms, and also some repetition. So I think in this case, the this colorized tower get generated with 4K, a Series 4 4K. The way it works is that in FreePix, there's a canvas space where you can connect different images and connect different text together to generate. So it is quite good. Thank you everyone for attending. I think That is the end of today's workshop, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. As always, the recording is going to be sent to all the participants for your reference. Thank you. Yeah, Merry Christmas.